I'd picked up the Heal capsule. I was wearing it. And what I noticed was a noticeable shift in my energy of feeling energized yet calm. It's almost like that really beautiful feeling of just feeling more in sync, more in alignment when you walk through a forest. You just feel more in tune. And as you said, it's all about harmonizing. And I felt that when I wasn't wearing it for a few days, I just really felt this allure to put it back on.
I want to step back also and tell you why you felt so good. Like, that's your natural state. Angela, if you went into the middle of nowhere and you went camping for a week, you'd feel that way because you don't have all these external environmental things, stressors bombarding your body. It's like harmonizing your biofield. It literally is like a bubble wrap of protection for external stressors.
Todd, I am so excited to have you here today. Really been looking forward to recording with you. I first came across Leela Q and Philip and crew at the Dragonfly event last year in Colorado. I went to a beautiful Kundalini yoga session, felt very energized. And then I picked up the Heal capsule, which I've been wearing and feeling the energy effects from. And yeah, I'm just super excited to have you here and kind of dive into the whole world of quantum energy with you today. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, when I came back from Colorado, I'd picked up the Heal capsule. I was wearing it. And what I noticed was a noticeable shift in my energy of feeling energized yet calm would be the way I described it. And it's one of those things, and you sort of think, is this just something I'm feeling? And what happens like if I don't wear it? And I felt that when I wasn't wearing it for a few days, I just really felt this allure to put it back on. I'd love for you to explain, just to kind of kick off, because all of your products are charged with pure quantum energy. What is pure quantum energy for our listeners?
Sure. I'm gonna give you that definition, and I want to step back also and tell you why you felt so good, because I think
Yeah,
that's an
please.
important part of it. But so pure quantum energy it's the energy behind the matter at a subatomic level. So it's purifying, it's calming, it's balancing that energy, and it only expands out further. So the best way to like really put it is it's not a positive and it's not negative energy. It's just neutralizing. And that is pretty much the key thing to remember when we talk about like all of the products that we have. They have different frequencies, like you're talking about the Heal capsule and everything, but like those are the frequencies that are imprinted in the products. But the pure quantum energy is actually what is causing you to, I'd almost say like when you say it causes you to feel good. And I want to step on that real fast because that's what's important, because that it's not that it's making you feel good. It like that's your natural state, and that's what's important to actually identify. Because it's the same as like Angela. If you went into the middle of nowhere and you went camping for a week, you'd feel that way, like because you don't have all these external environmental things, stressors bombarding your body. And that is basically what our products are replicating and creating. So it's not even so much replicating, it's just creating, I should say, that experience. So it's like harmonizing your biofield so that you don't have, whether it's just one or two stressors barking at you all day, like that your mitochondria is having to stop and basically create a defense mechanism for you. It's able to do what it wants to do, like, which is make you feel good, give you energy, make you not feel stressed, heal better, recover faster, like all of these things. It's just like it literally is like a bubble wrap of protection for external stressors. Like, again, our body is so resilient that, there are people for sure, not everyone feels EMFs, but it's because you also have really healthy mitochondria, and we can show on a biological level that regardless, that if you feel the Wi-Fi EMFs coming off of you, your body still responds. And we see this through calcium channel. So we can see this through HRV. We can see this through blood, and exactly like that, it literally basically clogs your blood up and it makes them like little clotting. So we can see all of this occurs whether you're feeling it or not, but your mitochondria is saying, like, again, it's resilient. So it has a certain amount of, let's just say a budget that it can have, right? So it's like, well, I can put this much budget into here today, but I also want Angela to feel good. So I'm going to use 50% to protect from the EMFs and the rest of it, but then that exhausts you. And then you might throw in mold in the house, and then your mitochondria has to decide, okay, well, I got to put a little bit away here and now, protect from the effects of the mold. And let's say you have Lyme disease or an autoimmune disease, your mitochondria this creates shin guards everywhere, right? Like soccer shin guards. Like we're getting kicked all day. It puts a shin guard there so it doesn't hurt. And that exerts energy. Now, if you take away all those stressors, all those things that are happening, your body can just be like, what a
That's how
good
it felt.
day.
Yeah, it felt like
And that's how you feel. So that's your natural state. And, we always say this, Leela, it's like, you don't need these products, but you do, and you will benefit from them if you live in a place where there's a lot of environmental stressors on top. And that's just for the pure quantum energy. That's not the specific frequencies that we imprint in some of the products as well, but just the benefits that you get having this pure quantum energy around you. It's just like a bubble wrap of protection, basically, for stress.
I love that analogy because I think that absolutely it sums up how I felt, right? And it's almost like, you get that really beautiful feeling of just feeling more in sync, more in alignment when you walk through a forest, for example. You just feel more in tune. And as you said, it's all about harmonizing. And when I came back, I recommended it. I have a biosyncing program, right? And biosyncing is all about being in sync with your life force. That's the etymology of bio. And my biosyncers love it. So they've been wearing the Heal capsule, and everyone feels that sense of harmony, right? And we work a lot with biofeedback and HRV, and I've seen improvements in HRV. So I love that. I guess the question I would have here is, why would some people, and I want to dive into the science with you in just a moment, but why would some people feel it and other people, it's still happening, but they wouldn't be aware of it?
Yeah, I think that's really just the sensitivity of someone. And I also think it's fluid in people. Like certain times in my life, there were plenty of times where let's just say, but this was like 10 years ago, I could close my eyes and I could tell you where your Wi-Fi router was because I could feel it. And the time, I don't have a right answer to this because at the time I thought it was cool. Like, hey, I'm that sensitive. Like I could tell you where your Wi-Fi router is. And now looking back, I don't know if that was good or like if it was because my mitochondria was weak or not. But it's just, I don't know that if it's just like, I do believe if you're very present with yourself, like you will feel the energy more. And if you're distracted, you're stressed, your other thing, it may not be another like line of communication that your body takes in. Cause like, again, my wife, like she gets the craziest buzz when she puts her head under there, and like she'll do that like in the morning or at night, like it'll keep her up. So she's like, oh, I shouldn't have done it so late, or if she has to, it's so different for her than it is for me and how I utilize the products, everything. So like when I just got the block, and that was like 5 years ago, like I could not sleep. My heart rate increased, and I didn't even really know what it was. I was one of those people that was like, okay, well, I got this block. Let's see what it does. And I was like, oh my gosh, my heart rate's up. My throat is like kind of getting a little tight, and I'm getting sweaty. I legitimately started sweating, and it was like, this thing is intense. So I could not sleep near it. But now it's not as intense. And I think it's because our bodies kind of get more harmonizing for it. But I don't know the answer in terms of why certain people feel it and some don't, but there are some people can't even come around our booths at the conferences, and they'll tell us like, listen, whatever you got going on in that booth, like we can't be around. And then some people come in, they're like, I don't feel this at all. But again, the great thing is it doesn't matter if you feel it or not. We have over 60 double-blind placebo tests showing that the benefit occurs with 100% of the people. So it's not a like, oh, we saw benefits with just 60 or 70% of the crowd. It's 100%, 100% of the time you will have the benefits. And we can go into the details too if you want, like what kind of tests. There are lots of different tests, but how we kind of started with the test, just so you know, and so your audience understands how like we originally were doing this was like you go into a room that was completely blocked off from EMFs, and we tested everything from the heart rate, the HRV, and we did dark field microscopy, looking at the blood. and these biomarkers. And that was with no EMFs, no stressors. So that was like, that's where you want to be. That's your prime point. And then we'd bring a Wi-Fi router into them. And 10 minutes later, we would check those numbers and they, it would just show, because that's what happens. Even if you don't feel it, your HRV drops because it's an invisible stressor. The blood would start to clot and it looked like money rolls. We have photos of this stuff on our website, so you can actually see the blood and what it looks like. And we call it like money rolls because all the cells start to get really sticky because they're stressed. And then what we'd do is we'd bring a quantum block into that room with the EMF still there. And 10 minutes later, we would retest their biomarkers. And 100% of the time, as long as it was the real block, because we were doing, these are double blind placebo tests, but the real block that was actually charged, 100% of the time, all their biomarkers went back to pre-exposure of EMFs while the EMFs were still in the ring.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's just amazing, amazing, because like I think it's just such a simple solution for modern life because we can't avoid it, right? We'd like to all be just out in nature, and not experiencing all these stressors, but the reality is we're surrounded by them. And just Angela, 1 second, because I think it's also important. Like one of the key points with Leela Q is, Philip, the founder, he was vice president of T-Mobile on a global level. So like he has the understanding of the benefits and the luxuries and everything that comes with technology. And for him, this whole purpose is to like be able to live in harmony with all the technologies, because there is the other route. The other end of the spectrum is Faraday cage everything, block yourself away from everything. Don't be around a cell phone. Don't use AirPods. Don't have an Apple Watch. Like there is that you can go, but like Leela Q is about working with them in harmony and not having to block everything. So just understand the differences. Like we're not, Philip has gone from both sides of it. We do make and sell EMF blocking clothing for people. Like, so I always have this, but I have a hat because I was just at the airport. We have underwear, we have jackets, and they're stylish. I always say Philip and crew are European, so they make stylish clothes, a lot of EMF blocking clothes. It's really one of those, like I used to walk around with it, but it's like you're walking around like with a pointing sign, like, hey, look at me, everybody. Look at me. I have EMF blocking clothes on, because they just look so wild and weird. And with the Leela Q products, you wouldn't even know that they're like EMF blocking. They're just regular shirts, and there's jackets, poofy jackets, and hats, and like beanies. So that's just another thing, is there's both spectrums, but what our goal is to let you be able to, and that's what these products do, is allow you to be around all the EMFs or other stuff and not be affected. I love that. I think that just fits so much more neatly and easily right into people's lives and just embraces where we are. Because as you say, technology has so many good things. I want to come on actually to how people can use this, because you're wearing apples and you can share that with us in just a moment. I think it's very interesting how you can use the block. But just so we really understand it properly. So it has pure quantum energy, right? And then that sort of is how it's sort of vibrating these devices, whether it's, or I shouldn't really say a device, the block or the capsule. And then they also have frequencies, right? Which is why you're getting that calming and harmonizing state as well. So one of the things you mentioned is that it protects your biofield. Can you explain what a biofield is for people who are not familiar with that?
Yeah, there's just, so many people have different words for it. You can use biofield, you can say aura, like your energy field, what our body, we are electric, so we put off, it's subtle energy, life force, prana. That's how I view all of that. It's all different words for just where you are in life. But just think of it as our bubble. When you're happy, people feel it. If you're angry, you don't have to tell people you're angry. Most people can be like, ooh, okay, right? And that's just your biofield. That's your aura. That's your energy. I would say my personal space too. That's another way to say it. Just like my little circle around it. That's what it's a bioenergy field. So like we as humans, like, again, when we're doing our day-to-day stuff, we're not always so mentally present. And we're not aware of everything that's surrounding us, but we have this field around us. And we are very intuitive beings. Being present, being mindful, the intuitive aspects really come alive. Um, and then you'll be more aware of other people's biofields, let alone your own. And that's what that is. I'd say there's different angles of what you want to call it, but I think that's if different people might be able to relate to all those different terms.
Yeah. And I think everyone can probably relate, right? So when you go, you may be at a party or something and you feel someone's biofield, you feel their energy field, and you know you just want to gravitate towards that person, right? You're having a great time. Their energy feels amazing. As you say, you can feel that happiness, that joy coming off them. And then there are other people who you can sense there's something off, right? And sometimes they'll gravitate towards you. So that's kind of our biofield and our personal energy field. It's almost like an energetic signature, I guess. But what about the quantum energy field and the quantum field, right, from which all information is effectively coming?
Yeah, that's really
Let's talk
cool.
about the quantum field.
Yeah, so the quantum field, I think maybe like to some people this could be a whole new thing, and I also want to like acknowledge that quantum. Again, the unfortunate aspect of like in the health world too is quantum gets thrown around a lot, so in a very unethical marketing aspect, and that's one thing that we want to step back and real acknowledge that it's like that's why we work so hard with all of our double-blind placebos tested. And it's very important to understand that's double-blind and placebo. So like it's not all like, hey, oh, you felt better, great, now let's do this whole research. Like everything is legitimized. A lot of our studies, I should say, are done by doctors who come to us that don't believe this work, and then we give them all the material to test it, and that's the test we get back. So we get lots of people that are like, this is scam, the quantum, all this and that, and it's like, well, please test us, like, because that's what we want to legitimize this as much as we can, and that's always the result. So we get doctors and professors that are just mind blown, but um, the quantum field is just it's everything. So we could also go into like quantum entanglement, which is a whole nother world. The 2022 Nobel Prize in physics was awarded on the research with the quantum entanglement. And that's even more mind blowing because when you want to talk about like, we talk about the speed of light, everyone thinks that's the fastest of everything, but like the quantum field, like it's almost just this, I'd almost say it's like think of like the iCloud, like it's just everywhere. And that is what the quantum field is. Everything is in the space. And they found that quantum entanglement actually, whether you want to say moves or communicates, but it works faster than the speed of light. And that's what's crazy. So it kind of shows that everything is everything in a way. Like everything is connected, is all one. And that's how it shows. The same thing as if someone picks us with a needle, we feel it instantly. And like the same thing could be the whole field. And that's just a whole nother like, subject to go into, but like the quantum field is everything, or it's in everything. And like the Joe Dispenza people could probably relate to that pretty well. Cause Joe Dispenza is always talking about the quantum field. And when you're manifesting or anything, it's putting it out into the quantum field, which is everything. It's not just 3 feet out from you or anything. It's existence. At a
And everything
subatomic
exists,
level, it's the
right?
energy. Yeah.
Everything already
Everything exists
exists.
and
Yeah.
everything is connected.
And everything is energy, as Einstein famously said, right? He said everything is
Yes.
energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of what you desire, and you'll have it, right?
And
So
you get
yeah, very interesting. Quantum entanglement is what I've heard a little bit about this. Is this explain for listeners what quantum entanglement is?
Yeah, again, is as scientifically done as this is, I got to tell you, it still blows my mind. Like quantum entanglement is just this fascinating aspect where, again, this is all research, and the research won the Nobel Prize. Just for your listeners to hear what I'm about to say is truth on our end, and when you think for a second that it's not, like go back to like the acknowledgement that it's got in the research. But for example, this is an example of quantum entanglement because again, it shows that everything is connected, whether it's on the other side of the universe or here, but it doesn't have to also be that close. But like, for example, Angela, if you didn't have a block with you and you had something going on with you today or whatever, I could be like, hey, Angela, text me or send me a photo of your face. And you would send it to me. And I do this all the time with my friends. And then I would take that picture of you, as long as it shows your eyes, which is really important, is I can take that picture of you and I can put it in the block here in San Francisco. And you will have the same as a physical, we test this again with the biological markers that you over in the UK will have the same benefits as if you were technically really here with the block.
Are you
And that
serious?
is as
Wow.
mind blowing as it
Tested
gets.
this.
And it's crazy. Yeah. And so I do that all the time with friends here. We always do that. People that are going to go into surgery, similar things. And the quantum entanglement, like it is just, it's silly crazy, like how cool this stuff is. And it shows us like, it's a real realization to me that like what I thought I knew in life, I didn't know enough, you know? And we have Leela Quantum, which are physical products. And then we have Quantum Upgrade, which is we say it's a digital, it's technically analog, but it's like a digital subscription where it is all based off of quantum entanglement. So you can have this, like, so your inner peace card that you have, or like the heal capsule, you can have it on you, basically with access to the quantum field at all times. And it's not like, when people look at it, they think that we have this satellite going up and around Earth or something, and it's beaming down frequencies. And it's not, it's quantum entanglement. So that's another service Leela Quantum has. It's called Quantum Upgrade. And it's all based off of that. And you can change your frequencies. You can do all this cool stuff as if you had a block with you, or that your face was in a block. So
And
quantum entanglement is so cool.
It's so cool. I mean, so hold on. So we come back to the subscription or the digital product. But what you're saying is, so if someone didn't have a block, or with my block, for example, I could take a photograph of a friend, maybe they're feeling a bit down or something, and then put that photograph. Would it need to be printed, or could I have it on my phone and put the phone into the block?
You could do that. Yeah, you could do that for sure. Yeah, you could just have your. Mm-hmm.
If you tested their blood, they would get the benefits as if they had, say, put their hands under the block.
Yes.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, it works 73% as good. Like it is just, it's direct. There's no difference. Like the quantum field doesn't, I don't know what word it is. It doesn't judge, right? So it doesn't, it's like, hey, it's this part of it. And, and then on that end, just to get even crazier, and we hear, if you're part of our Telegram group, you can see the stories all the time where it's like, you also, because it's quantum entanglement, you don't want to put two pictures of different people in that block. So like, that's another end, because then you're going to entangle them. That's just a whole nother side note. And we have heard stories about that all the time, where people are having photos of, they put either two people in there, and then I have a personal story I can tell you where I didn't know this back in the day before we really researched quantum entanglement. And I had I have blocks on my property. And I have a larger, about 6 acres out here, and we just have them all around the houses and where I'm in my office. And like, I always have pictures of friends in the blocks. And one time I took 2 pictures of 2 of my friends that asked me to put in the block. I didn't think anything of it. I put them in there. These people did not know each other. And then they randomly met each other at a conference that they shouldn't have even. I didn't know neither met, and they met each other. And like the whole thing that it transpired from there, which is really wild, because I also had a photo of my kids in there. So I had my kids and my 2 friends. And I won't go into so much details, but the outcome that occurred with all of those people together, like they all met in the world, and they didn't know each other, and it's so crazy. And that's just one story. There are hundreds of stories you can hear about, like on our Telegram group, of people with quantum entanglement. So people are always like, and on our group, if you want this test, people are, you can print out and be like, hey guys, whoever has a block, can you print this out for me? I'm about to go into surgery. I just need some calming, or whatever it is. And people will do it for you. And people do it all the time.
Why do you say don't put them in though? What if you wanted to put 2 people in the block? You think it would be great for them to meet? I mean, is there any risk with this?
Well, I think you're entangling them in a way of like, so if it was like a husband and wife, sure, that'd be better. But like, if it's 2 people that don't know each other, you're literally almost like you're entangling them. And we're almost playing, I don't want to use the words witchcraft, but like, you don't want to really mix people that aren't meant to be mixed.
Yeah.
And you're just mixing their frequencies. Yeah.
That's really, yeah, really fascinating. Um, okay, and you've tested this and it shows that. So if you put a photo of someone in the block, they're going to get the same things. Let's talk more about the science of this, because you touched on it and what your studies show, right? And they're double blind. So sometimes it's a genuine block that's been charged and sometimes it isn't. And you see those effects. What are the positive health effects that are experienced?
We've done all these different ones, so I'll try to summarize the benefits in like a really simplistic way so people understand. But please keep in mind, like, these are different studies for different purposes. Whether it was like wound healing, or like we actually did studies where we, you know, took live cells and damaged them, and we would put them into these blocks and see the difference. So like we well, of course we'll see the bioenergetic markers. We run with like, you know, you can do stuff with like when if you come to the I don't remember if we had a Dragonfly, but we probably either had a biofield reader or we had the HRV reader. So we could do real time with you there. Just so you know, like we'd hook you up with the HRV, we'd put a phone next to you, show you what your HRV went to, then put your hand in the block and see the difference. So we see the bioenergetic markers change. That's HRV. We can do the dark field microscopy, which you can see the pictures of, which is so when your blood is not stressed, it's visceral, it's smooth, it's flowing free. When it's stressed, it clots and it gets rough, and it just kind of isn't as, it's thicker, so it's not good. So we see that it's going to increase your white blood cell count, which can help you also with the immune system. It improves oxygenation, and that's because you're getting more blood flow, of course. We did a specific study, and this is unlike anything that no one has ever gotten these results with any other product or device, but it was 29% increase in ATP production. So that's energy, like compared to it not being there. And again, we see that it decreases blood clots. We basically saw a 200% increase in wound healing. So like, and again, this is because, to simplify it again, right? Because the same thing could occur if you're in nature or grounding or something, like where you're not around these stressors, is like, it just creates this safe environment where your mitochondria can focus on what it needs to focus on in your own body. It can focus on you, as opposed to, okay, 80% can go to Angela today and the 20% has to go to blocking the EMFs that she's going to be around. You know, like that's why these are working. It's really just creating it's allowing your body. It's subtle. It's not a blunt force. Like, it's allowing your body to do what it needs to do naturally. So that's simplistic with that. We can also get into, like, we're working with, because a lot of these things happen. We see these benefits, especially like on the Telegram group that we have, or like social media, where people reach out and they're like, hey, this occurred. And we're like, we don't know anything about it. And we'll start hearing more people about it. So we start to pay for studies for it. And one thing that is really fresh, and we're seeing what it's doing with food allergies. And we always preface it with, if you like, you know, be very careful with this, because food allergies can be bad, but we're trying to figure out why pure quantum energy is really helping with food allergies. And I find this as a personal experience. And we did this in front of, like, I don't know, 1,000 people at the biohacking conference a few years ago, where I am severely allergic to crab, also honey and avocado and fish and whatnot. But what we took is a derma roller, and we derma rolled my forearm, and we put crab meat on it, and it just blew up. My forearm blew up like a ton of, looks like bumblebee. Like, I get a histamine response. It's horrible. Very painful, and it's visual. You can see it right away. So what we did is we did that. And then on stage, we put that same crab meat and we put it under a block for like 6 minutes, I think. And then after 6 minutes, we derma rolled my other forearm and we put the crab meat on there, and it had no effect. For me, I can eat food that I am allergic to as long as I put it under the block for at least 6 or 7 minutes. And that includes honey. Again, for me, honey, avocado, shellfish. So crab is probably the worst for me. Shrimp, anything like that.
I'm
And
excited to try this, Todd.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, so
yeah, because I'm very sensitive to nightshades, right? And I love, for example, I love
yes.
aubergines, and I'm just very sensitive, and tomatoes. So are you saying that if I put the aubergine into the block first, I may not have those
Yes.
sensitivities afterwards?
Yeah. And like, so Ian Mitchell, who is also our head scientist, he best describes that as, that the block is it's harmonizing the destructive waveform patterns that's in the space. So like that's what's happening with the food. It's not even so much that like your body's physical reaction to it, but it's harmonizing all the negative things. And we see the same thing with gluten, Angela, and sugar, and pretty much anything else. So we offer, and we suggest, I should say, to like put everything you eat under the block. And we do that. We also have, Leela Q has a grand block, and it's big enough to put your grocery bag under. And nothing comes into our kitchen usually without it going under there first. And that's just because, whatever. That's just, we have it, so we use it all the time. It's in the kitchen counter. It's large enough for like to put a bag or two of groceries under it, and we put everything under there.
With the food, when you want to put it under it doesn't matter, it sounds like, because you're putting it in a grocery bag, it can be packaged. Mm-hmm. I think you can also put water underneath it, right? And tell us what it does to water if you put a glass of water in the block.
Yeah, water is my favorite thing in life, to talk about water, because water is a subject that the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything about water. And water is one of my biggest passions. So it's really cool to work with water on many levels, but one level with Leela Q. So people talk about structured water. And structured water doesn't mean it's spring water. It doesn't mean anything. The definition basically is, when thing is structured is the tension changes in water. So what's beautiful about that is water, as long as, now water, we can call water dead water. If it's been through the tap water, it's stressed, it's stripped of everything, it's not really alive. It's kind of dramatic. I prefer to call it dormant water, because just like us, our moods change, our heartbeats change every second to every minute. So does water's existence. Water changes. It takes on memory and then it loses it, and everything is different, right? So the job of water is it's a bridge of communication. So it basically captures and holds on to anything that's around it. So if you're driving and you're listening to music and you have a water bottle, like that water has changed compared to when it was at your house. And then when you get to work and you're stressed, like it takes on, it's just an absorption. It's so, it's an empath, right? So what's really cool with water is that you can put it in a Leela block and it'll take on, and we see this, we have the photos, you can see this at the Moto Institute, which everyone always knows, the famous like peace and love. Most people know how they took the words peace and taped it on the water, and then hate and ugly and all these negative things, and how the water changed. So that institute, we sent our items to them, and they love the results so much that we are the only product they actually sell. Like, so they're like, we love your stuff so much. Can we be a distributor for you guys for your, for the water bottles and stuff? But, what's happening is it's imprinting because it's communicating with all those frequencies that are in the block, your heal capsule. So like you could take the heal capsule and put it next to that glass of water, and it'll absorb those frequencies. And that's just something to show, because technically you don't need that because it's already on you. But it's just another cool way to show it. Like we can actually see that the water changes, the tension, the taste can change, and that's why it's really also good with fruits, because we have a place in the United States that a lot of people know, called Sun Life Organics. It's kind of a high-end health smoothie and acai bowl place. They're just kind of spread around. At every one of their locations, they have Leela blocks, and they put all their fruit through there, because when you think about you're enhancing the water, like what that does to fruit, because fruit is full of water. So you're enhancing the flavor. It's just making it more bold and healthier. It makes it more easier to get into exclusion zone water transfer, basically, of a state of the fourth phase, basically. So,
which is important for your mitochondria, right? So we come back to the energy and ATP production. Yeah. It's interesting what you said earlier, actually, around the improvements you see in ATP production. Do you see that as well with wearing the necklace, the capsule? Do you see that improvement? You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, so that's going to be with everything.
You know why I ask you that?
Of our products,
that would explain then why, when I wear this, I am so much stronger on my deadlifts in the gym. Noticeably stronger, right? Because it's affecting that energy, right? when I'm doing a lift. I can lift them much heavier. It's really interesting.
Yeah, there it goes into, so there's so much with that, because again, it's also when you have a relaxed central nervous system, it's great for heavy lifting. So there's more than just ATP. Yes, like
Right.
that's what's giving you heavier, and then also again, like just the enhancement of the central nervous system, everything that happens with your back, like and is proper. All of that, it's all like these cool things all at once that come into it that allow you to do that stuff. And then, so we also have, like for the quantum upgrade, we have frequencies for working out. We have the Olympic frequency, and it's really crazy what we see people do. So we work with a lot of pro athletes. We work with some cricket guys, and over in Europe too, we got a lot. But like here in the United States, we work with a lot of pro football players, UFC fighters. MLB, NFL, all throughout the CrossFit games, all like the elite top 5 in the world, we all Leela Q products, big part of their stuff.
Interesting. And how does that work then, the quantum upgrade? How would someone, do they choose which frequency they want? How does that work?
Yeah. So you can get a really basic start where it's just like you're in a quantum field. So it's as if you're in a block basically. But then we have the options for like an extra, $10 a month. It will give you a whole list of different frequencies. So for example, like your frequency card that you had with you earlier, like the inner piece, like that's just one of, I think like 32 different frequencies that we have, because we also have heal. We have just specifically, EMF protection. There's a whole list of so many different ones. Focus for ADHD stuff, stress. There's primal source. There's universal power. There's self-love. There's so many different frequencies, and it'd be the same as if you have that card, but you have 32 cards and you just change them out all day. So that's kind of a big benefit for people if they don't want to invest in a card initially. Like you could, instead of buying all 30 cards, you can buy the quantum upgrade, which is a subscription. So it's a monthly basis. They give you a certain amount, a trial for free. And after that you pay, but it's really cool. Like, cause you can
select the frequency you want that day, do you?
Yeah, but you can change it every 10 minutes. You can do whatever you want. When I'm like, I can change it right now. And then in 10 minutes, if I go to work out, I'll change it to Olympic. And then after that, if I want to go meditate, I'll put it on, universal power or source there's just so many different ones. And you can change them and you can increase the intensity. And that's one thing that's really important because like we said before, even if you don't feel it, it's not too important because you're still going to see the biological markers are still there and those are benefiting. But we have these intensity levels that you can change it. And I can tell you that we've worked with people. I'll tell a story about Ben Greenfield. He didn't feel the quantum upgrade at first, which you may not, because it's at like 600 or 700 out of like a 1200 and the Hawkins scale levels. And one time Ben was like, well, I don't feel it, yet. And I was like, well, increase the number or increase the intensity. And he did. And I got a text from him at like 3 a.m. and he's like, hey man, I cannot sleep. How do I turn this down? And it was like, okay, yeah, sorry, we'll do this. But, cause you can increase it. You can feel it. And I mean, cause that's, there's no better way for someone to, I think, just like how you did, right? It's like, well, even if I don't know how this is working, I feel it. So I'm going to keep using this. And like that, there's nothing better for anyone to, unless you feel it, right? So like, then you know that it's working for you if you feel it. And with the quantum upgrade, that works that way where you can increase the intensity to the point where you feel it, but you don't need to have that intensity. You can lower it back down and you're still getting the same benefits. But then at least people can be like, oh yeah, I feel it. Okay, This is legit,
They know it's working that way. One of the things you've mentioned is around the EMF. I want to touch on that. So, and the protection that comes from it, because I love the fact that you embrace the fact that, right, we're in a modern lifestyle. Technology is there. It serves its purpose. And this, I think, just really works as well for, mums and dads like myself who worry about their kids with all that EMF around them. With the block, I want to talk in a second about what you can put inside it, but is it kind of neutralizing? If you have a block in the house, is it neutralizing the effects of Wi-Fi, EMF radiation from your mobile phones, things like that?
Everywhere. Absolutely.
everywhere.
So there's nothing that's more intense than the inside, but a cool effect is it extends itself. It extends it so like depending on which block you have, it can go it's more than likely your entire property and your neighbors and your other neighbors. Like if you live in an apartment complex, like all the everyone in the apartment are benefiting. And it can go about anywhere from a quarter mile to 2 miles, basically, is the harmonization, depending on which block you have. So, like when
Right.
you were at Dragonfly, all of the Gaia facility was benefiting the entire
Right.
place, and surrounding areas for the EMFs for sure. Yeah.
Amazing. And then you were talking about, and you're wearing AirPods, you were saying you can put devices that you use inside the block. And then tell me about how that works and how that can protect you when you're then using them and they're outside of the block.
Yeah. So when you put something in the block, if it's all just metal, it will like you only have to put in the block once, and you only put it in for like a minute or two at most, and it is charged basically forever. There's no difference. But like things that like clothing, you can put those in there, but you'd want to redo it, probably every few weeks. I literally like almost everything I own. I find some way to put under the block because it's going to harmonize something out of it. And so when you go back to like, yeah, AirPods, my watch, my phone, I would put those under there every like 4 to 6 weeks, because while it is pretty much all metal, it is actively pulling and actively producing EMFs. So it's going to lose its charge. So every 4 to 6 weeks I put it under there, but it'll emit less EMFs like for you. It actually like suppresses the amount that it's actually going to like, that's harmful for you too. So that's another way to do it. Our Quantum upgrade has a service that's just for your phone as well. So pretty much everything you can do with Leela Q products, we have something from Quantum upgrade, just so you know. So you can get a service where it's just you. You get a service for your whole property. You can get it for your pets, your car, and then your phone. So your phone is always like basically emitting less EMFs.
Okay, so it doesn't disrupt. The phone's still signaling and you're using it, but it's just you're not getting so
Yeah,
many.
it's not a Faraday cage of any type like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
again, you can go on our website and see all like the studies where we show this, that it's just less harmful of the EMS. It's not going to mess with your connection. It's not a Faraday cage, but it's actually just harmonizing them. Like it's like having your phone has its own quantum, basically its own biofield, right? It's getting cushioned as it's excelling or expelling out of the phone.
And then if I put my rings under, for example, that would just harmonize the metals, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then what's really cool about that, again, because some people are like, well, I don't feel anything. That's weird. The thing is the cool thing I should say is when you work with people who can actually work with that stuff, where they see, like Kroot can see your aura just by looking at you. She was born that way. She has really cool podcasts about how like she thought she could see your aura. She could see everything that's going on with you. And she thought everyone saw that. And she now like does trainings where she teaches people all this stuff. But she can tell you, like Philip can do the same thing too, because he's at the same level. And anyone who works in energy, they would be able to tell you if you took 2 rings and you put one under the block and then you pulled one of them out and just like showed it to them, they would be able to tell you which ring was charged with quantum energy. And they can do the same thing with food. So like if you took 2, because like if you put raspberries and stuff under there, it also brings them back to a more organic state. So if you got non-organic, not to go on a tangent here, but if you got non-organic produce, you can put it under the block and it'll bring it back to its like organic state. And Philip can look at those, but you could put some under there and pull them out, and he could identify which berries, or let's just say blackberries, you put under the block. He'll know. So like, again, there's many people can do that. Not everyone. I sure can't. But like, if they're that in tune with energy, they can tell
So are
you,
you
oh,
saying it
that
can
was,
like protect you from the pesticides and things in non-organic produce?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's literally like removing the destructive waveform of pesticides.
And then also enhancing the antioxidant content, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty incredible. Really incredible.
It is. It's fascinating.
Yeah, really fascinating. And as I say, I have felt the benefits, and now I have I've got the card and and the capsule, which I've enjoyed so much. So now I have a block, which I'm going to be using for food and water and things like that. And it's super interesting. You have all the studies. The links are on your website. Todd, please share, where can people go and find out more about this? I think we have a special discount for listeners that they can try using code Angela. All the studies and everything, the research is on there. And just, I love the fact that you're embracing technology while protecting us and helping us return to that harmonized, more natural state. So please share and how people can connect with you as well.
Leela Q this is Leela, LEELAQ.com. That's our one website, and that can drive you over to Quantum Upgrade if you want to see that too. And just at the top, you'll see the for the studies, you can go to its research. Just click on the research tab, and it'll have all the studies right there. It has all the results and the photos before and afters and all of that. And then getting in contact with us, we're very active on social media. So whether it's Instagram, Facebook, is all Leela Quantum. Our Telegram group, last time I checked, had over 7,000 or 8,000 members. And we don't moderate it in terms of we're not the ones controlling it. It's just people who use Leela Q products. So it's for everyone to talk about, hey, has anyone had this problem and how did you fix it? Or did anything help? So it's just a group, it's just a community helping each other. We're not the ones in there monitoring and telling people what to say or not. It's just a group, but Telegram is really great. And I do want to say for people, because you got the Heal capsule. And I think that's a great place for everyone to start. Is because it's a smaller investment and you'll be able to actually experience the quantum energy and the benefits from it. And that's just a wonderful place to start. If someone wants to know what to purchase, I suggest the Heal capsule is probably it's by far most common, and it's just a great thing to purchase. And then you'll be able to experience it and see if you want to invest more money into other products.
I think that's a great place to start. I certainly, that's where I started. Just have absolutely loved it. One thing actually we didn't mention there that you were mentioning, and I had with one of my clients recently, you and I talked a little bit offline about mold, which is becoming an increasing problem. It's really, really ramping up here in the UK because our climate is changing. It's getting wetter and wetter. And so many of the properties now are having that. And I think actually, just before you go, just like to talk a little bit about mold and how even the capsule itself can help you in that regard. If you are, maybe you're renting a property, you haven't got much control over it at the moment, and you're exposed to mold, which can be so damaging to our mitochondria.
Yeah. Before I lived in San Francisco, I've lived here for about 20 years, but during COVID, I moved to Florida, which for a few years, and the amount of mold in those homes is disastrous. Brand new homes, 90 to 100% of the homes, because of the way they're being built, are just having to be redone because of the mold. It's such a sad thing. And it's so sad for people that have mold issues because it literally is our home. It is supposed to be our safe haven. It's supposed to be where we go and we spend the majority of our time. And now we have this other stressor. And again, just like everything else where it goes in, is it's destructing. It's basically harmonizing. I'll say this term again, but it destructs or any of the destructive waveform patterns. So it's basically creating this entire bubble. It doesn't matter if it's mold or anything else. Your body is not going to be biologically affected. You can see the differences. People wear the Heal capsule. I would say for that, I would start with the capsule so you can see it, but the block is going to be the ultimate, because the Heal capsule is protecting mostly you. But if you have a family, and of course kids or anything like that, hands down, the question, there's no question, get the block. But you can test first with how you feel with it with the capsule, and then by that point it won't be a problem. I think they'll be confident enough to purchase a block. But it is literally just like everything else. Mold is just another part of the equation of a stressor, an external environmental stressor that pure quantum energy protects you from.
And it's so important. I mean, sometimes it is, just beyond your control, right? So we have a lot of parents who are listening to this show whose children are going off to university, right? And they're living in student accommodation. And often these properties have things like mold. And I certainly had it firsthand in a property I was in with my son when he was younger. And what we saw, we didn't know there was mold. And what we saw was his growth on the centile chart. He dropped over 20 percentiles. And then when we moved, he made up all that growth. And you can just see the effect effects that, you know, mold
Wow.
effectively was happening on his body, and just how different he could have been in terms of height had we not moved something somewhere else. So I think that's is really important. The other thing is, I think there's a mini block for the car for electric vehicles as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, so it depends on like which you have, but for sure, like so we have the mini block, and that we just call that the travel block, and we go everywhere. We fly with it, and we go out to eat with it, because then we'll put everything through the little block, and like so we're having, you know, bread over here is way different than bread that you guys have over there, so we make sure to put all the bread under the block, any of the wheats and stuff that we can, and any just whatever we're having. But you can put that in the car, which is great. Other people still put like especially out of a Tesla. We did a test in Europe with the highest EMF producing electric vehicle that's in Europe, and we did the same thing. You can see that it's like as if you're not in an electrical car. Those studies are on our website too. So yeah, you can have a block in there. We also can do quantum upgrade on your car. You give it the VIN number and identifying factors, and it will do the same thing for your car as if you had a block. So all these options you have. And if you have questions, like please, like you can either reach out to Telegram and other users can help you, but like our support team, Instagram, all that, we're there all day to answer any questions you have. I'm happy to do so.
Amazing. Thank you. We will link to that in the show notes as well, Todd. It's been incredible talking to you and just hearing all about it, and just the way you've kind of, demystified the science behind it all. I love all the studies that you're doing to support it, and the way you're just really helping support people to become healthier in the modern world and embrace that. So thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely, Angela. Thank you.